Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox on Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. Because it all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna. Dallas Keuchel Lamson got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
Hello, White Sox fans. Welcome in. It is the Sox on Tap post-game show. Jonnie and NWI here alongside NWI Steve on Tuesday, June 1st, discussing, unfortunately, a White Sox 5-6 loss to the Cleveland Indians. Steve, been a little bit since I've been on the mic, so good to be back. First of all, how are you doing, my man?
Hey, yo, Johnny. Yeah, nice to be back on here with you. I know I was kind of MIA for a little bit here over the last couple of weeks, and then obviously you traveling a little bit, so it's good to reconnect here and get back on the mic together.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish it were on, kind of a happier note here, but unfortunately, that's just the cards that we were dealt tonight. Dylan Cease didn't particularly have it, so we will get into all of that and the little, there were some exciting parts of this game, but we'll get to all of that before our little standard housekeeping here. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Sox on Tap and at On Tap Sportsnet for the main account, visiting ontapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. This show is presented by Grandstand, so make sure when you're shopping for White Sox merchandise, go visit Grandstand right near the ballpark, or visit them online at grandstandsox.com and on social media at grandstandsox. So, Steve, like I mentioned, a 5-6 loss here in Cleveland tonight. I hate to lose two in a row, obviously dropping the second half of that doubleheader yesterday. But the main story here to start, let's go. Dylan Cease versus Shane Bieber tonight. Dylan Cease did not particularly have it. Just start with some thoughts on him.
You're right, Johnny. He certainly didn't have it, particularly with his secondary offerings. Slider really wasn't very crisp tonight. Had some tremendous issues putting guys away when he would get ahead in counts 0-2, 1-2. And that was just kind of a theme throughout the entirety of his outing here. And unfortunately, it was tough to see it happen against Shane Bieber, obviously one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Anytime you have that circumstance right there, that's not going to help your cause there. And it wasn't just struggling 0-2, 1-2 to put hitters away, getting 2 outs in innings and struggling to close out innings there and get the team back in the dugout there so that they could do some things offensively. It just wasn't able to close things out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, too, because we have seen some nice outings from Dylan Cease. I wouldn't say dominant, but some decent ones that can get you wins. That was not one of them tonight, certainly for all of the factors that you mentioned. And then also going up against, Shane Bieber, there are some offensive things that we'll have to talk about here. But it's always a tough task, man. I think it's a little bit daunting. And we saw, obviously, the pitcher's duel that happened between him and Giolito earlier in the year. So always just kind of maybe a little bit mentally kind of straining going into a game like this. But either way, as we open it up, let's talk scoring here in the bottom of the first. Tribe go up 2-0 here on this. And Steve, I want you to kind of walk through this inning and talk about some of the little miscues here that we have, because we have a Collins drop third strike, gets the backstop. And granted, it was a nasty curve. It's in the dirt. Got to get out there and block it, but that allows the inning to extend in these runs to score afterward, and then you get a Timmy double clutch here. So just thoughts from the first inning here, because it looked a little sloppy to begin with, and I don't think it left a good taste in many White Sox fans' mouths.
Yeah, I think it was pretty reminiscent of what we saw maybe the first 2-3 weeks of season here, with a lot of defensive miscues, kind of giving the opposition chances to add runs early on in games and extend innings and ultimately drop up pitch counts. And, we hadn't seen that for the better part of maybe the last 6 weeks or so while this team has been playing particularly well. And it unfortunately just reared its head at a very inopportune moment against a team that's chasing you in the division. And again, kind of what I talked about leading into things here, this was just kind of symbolic of Dylan Cease not being able to close things out to get out of an inning there. Obviously, you had the drop third strike situation there, and we can talk about whether or not Collins should have been able to smother that ball or not. There's obviously then an opportunity for Dylan Cease then to close out an inning, get a strikeout, pick up his catcher there, or just, get out of the inning altogether one way or the other. And he just simply wasn't able to do that. And I think that's really the difference between Dylan Cease and Shane Bieber right now. Shane Bieber, when placed in some of those situations here, he obviously had that pretty strenuous second inning, but he was able to limit the damage. And then after that, he was able to shut the door on the White Sox offensively, whereas Dylan Cease wasn't able to do that. I think that's really the contrast between the two guys right now, and you see where they are in their career trajectories at this moment.
Muted here. It's very evident, like you'd mentioned, and Shane Bieber much more established throughout his career, and Dylan Cease only in year number 3 here, and even then he had some shortened ones. He was only half of the 2019 shortened season in 2020. So you do have to take that into account, but at the same time, you would like to see some progress in those sort of shutdown killer mentality. I think is the word, the terminology that we're kind of looking for there. A little comment here because there were a couple more notes from here. Does Grandal block that ball that Collins go by in the first?
That's a great question there. We've all kind of seen Yasmani Grandal has had some defensive issues after. I'm not going to sit here and say definitively that he would have blocked it in that particular spot because, again, like you talked about leading into this, that was a pretty nasty breaking ball from Dylan Cease. So I don't know that we can definitively say one way or the other that Yasmani Grandal would have squared up and would have blocked that ball and kept it in front of him. So I think that's probably a little bit unfair to Zach Collins maybe in that spot.
Oh, yeah, and we're just playing hypotheticals here because we wouldn't know unless he was in that spot. So I just wanted to bring that up. That was a comment. Thanks to Jordan Miller for bringing that up in here. But otherwise, the last thing of this top of the first here, excellent diving play by Andrew Vaughn. I am very, very surprised with the defense. I thought I thought he'd be better than Eloy because how can you really get that much worse? But really, really some outstanding plays so far, Steve. There's been multiple diving catches. This is not the first time he is laid out and caught a ball, and this was in a big spot. Obviously, if that ball drops, this inning continues, and the bleeding just, Dylan Cease could be even going even shorter than 3 1/3 this game.
You're absolutely right, Johnny. I think that a lot of us had question marks about Andrew Vaughn and his ability to handle the left field position coming into the season, being that he had never played it at an organized level before. And I think he has been more than to this standpoint or to in this. And look, he's of range that he's of caliber left field. But we talked about this, I think, when this change was made after Eloy went down, was just make the plays that you can make that are right at you, and then maybe sprinkle in 1 or 2 plays like we saw from him here in the first inning, and take that. And I think giving them that 2 point here. And I think as time continues to progress, I think he's a pretty smart player. He'll kind of start to learn some things. He'll start to learn some angles and be able to get better reads on balls over time. I don't think the range is ever really going to be there, but I don't see any reason why he can't at least be a serviceable left fielder at this juncture.
Yeah, no, and it definitely just gives you hope because I think it was just kind of a plug and play to get the bat in the lineup. And that's essentially what we were looking at least how I looked at it going in, because you just didn't know, too. He was never at the major league level, didn't have the minor league experience with COVID, whole, shutdown, just, taxi squad stuff last year. We didn't know exactly how that went. So that was a nice catch to round out that first. All right, let's go to the top of the second here because interesting, the White Sox would take the lead here, and it was on a very interesting play. Whole sequence overall. Lamb walks one out, and then you get Collins with a single with 2 outs, and Billy Hamilton, man, coming on as of late. Obviously, the home runs over the weekend, but this, he drives a ball really, really well hit to the gap. So in for a little bit of power here, Billy Hamilton. Something I did not think I would ever say, but he has been as of late. So I'll give him the props there. And he's got wheels, so he gets the third. It's a triple. Throw comes home and trickles away from Hedges there, and Billy Hamilton heads up as always, comes in, slides right under Shane Bieber's tag, who's covering the plate. And this is a inside the park home run. I don't care. I know the official scoring, Steve, is going to be a triple and reaching home on an error there, but I'm going to give him in the Sox on Tap official scorebook an inside the park home run for this one.
Are we at the point where we just need to start calling him Billy the Bat? I mean, he's just, he's really turned into a guy that, for lack of a better term, he's becoming an offensive force here in these last couple of games. And look, I got a little bit of crow to eat here. I will say this. Very early on in the season, I was someone that was of the mindset that Billy Hamilton should never have a bat in his hand. He should only be utilized as a pinch runner, late defensive replacement. And he's making me eat my words here. For whatever the reason, he's having a nice little bit of a resurgence to this point here, obviously, since Luis Robert went down. And I think we need to talk, I think, maybe in just more generalities about the bench overall and some of the role players on this team and the contributions that they've gotten to this point from not just Billy Hamilton, but Jake Lamb has continued to go out there and provide quality at bats for this team. Leury Garcia has picked it up in recent weeks here. So, and even Zach Collins yesterday had a key two-run double there. So they're getting nice contribute in hockey terms there from the bench players that a lot of people were heavily scrutinizing coming into the season, saying that the Sox really didn't have a quality bench. And look, over the course of 162 games, maybe that plays out. But right now, they're getting solid performances and they're getting timely hits from a lot of these guys and making key positive contributions to help this team win ball games right now. Did.
Hey, Steve, you name that you mentioned there. Billy Hamilton's hit here is the one that did, drive in those three and put the White Sox up at this juncture in the game in the top of the second here. But Jake Lamb, a guy that goes 2 for 2 tonight, draws 2 walks as well. He's shown some, power in, kind of timely spots a little bit, obviously over the weekend against Baltimore. So I think that's important to highlight too, because I am right alongside with you. I would have said that Billy Hamilton's, a great, pinch runner, defensive replacement, all of that. And then Jake Lamb is just kind of your spot guy, like when a guy absolutely needs a day of rest. You only seen him maybe once a week, twice a week max. No, that has not been the case because obviously they're trying a little something different, trying to keep guys a little more healthy, rotating these guys in. But it is nice to see those contributions come through. A decent day for Jake Lamb, like I had mentioned. So unfortunately, the Cleveland would tie this thing back up in the bottom of the third. And Steve, it's time to just stop pitching to Jose Ramirez. I think that's the bottom line here.
He is the latest in a long line of Cleveland Indians hitters that just torch the White Sox. Obviously I grew up during the age of Jim Thome, who is, again, someone that gets propped up by White Sox fans on a pedestal. I'm old enough to remember when he was making my life a living hell playing in that Cleveland Indians uniform. Then you transition over to guys like Travis Hafner and Grady Sizemore. And then, you look at obviously Francisco Lindor, and now Jose Ramirez is that guy. And it is just so irritating anytime he comes up to the plate with anyone on base, because you just get the scaries. You just feel like something bad is about to happen regardless of the circumstance. It's almost like we're preconditioned at this point to realize that when Jose Ramirez comes up, it's going to be in a pivotal spot and he's going to come through and it's going to hurt.
So this would just be the first juncture of this, because this was a leadoff double to start this inning in the bottom of the third. And then we would get 2 outs after this here. But then you get Hector Ramirez, RBI single here. The other Ramirez, I got to put, H and J before these in my notes here to kind of separate them here. But that would tie it up here at 3. Unfortunately, I think it's just the kind of closeout thing that you had said there, because Dylan Cease still in at this point. You get the 2 outs after Jose Ramirez, leads off with that. But then Hector Ramirez laces that ball, I think, into left field. And that tied this game at 3. And we'd go on to the bottom of the 4th, where Tribe would add even more. Zimmer leadoff single, Hedges 2-run home run out to left field. And that is a guy that you don't want beating you, because his average, has just been trash so far. And he's able to rope this one out to left field. Just feels like kind of like a, punch in the gut, and they wouldn't even be done then, because after Cease comes out, Jose Ruiz comes in with Rosario walked after, the bases were cleared, but Rosario walked. So that put one more on for Jose Ruiz coming in to this one. And that would be a RBI double from Mr. Jose Ramirez. Man, like I said, it's just time to stop pitching to him. And it's frustrating when these are the guys that are beating you here.
Yeah, you talk about Austin Hedges and the 2-run homer that he hit, and this was something that I highlighted early on here when we got going. Just Dylan Cease's inability to have command of his secondary offerings here. This was a breaking ball that just simply got too much of the zone, hung it And even a guy that is struggling as much as Austin Hedges, when you make a mistake with a secondary offering out over the heart of the plate, even a guy like him, going as bad as he is, can do damage with it. And that's what we saw, unfortunately, right there.
Yeah, slider getting pounded today for Dylan Cease. I think that was kind of the story of it with a lot of those hard hit balls, and obviously in a critical spot like that with the Hedges one there. So all the scoring with Cease in this game, because we got some decent performances outside of that. Ruiz letting up the RBI double to Ramirez, the first batter he faced. He pitched a 1-2-3 fifth. Burr goes a 1-2-3 in the sixth. He also made a nice diving catch in there, so he gets some. Cease made a nice play back to himself too. So some nice fielding from the White Sox pitchers today. I guess it's a small positive take out of this. And then Crochet, he goes 1-2-3 in both the seventh and eighth. And then we finally get to the top of the ninth with the White Sox up. And Jake Lamb tuning again. He leads off with the single and then advances the second on a wild pitch. Vaughn flies out, but Collins, like you'd said, kind of supplementary guys here coming through. RBI single to keep the train rolling. And then you would get Adam Eaton striking out. He was pinch hitting for Hamilton in that spot. But Anderson singles, Madrigal singles, right back up the middle to keep it. Just, keep the line moving. And then this is where, Moncada, he walked after that, and the rally fell short with Jose Abreu grounding out to end the game. Tough night for Jose. You would like to see him. He had a couple of spots to have a chance here, but he ends up going 0 for 5 tonight. And it sucks, Steve. I hate seeing this right after, earlier today named the American League Player of the Week for this past week. And it seems like, okay, Jose's getting hot again. And then you get a game like this, a goose egg for 5. Just sucks, especially in the spot.
That's just baseball humbling you. When you think things are going great, this game has a way of bringing you back down to earth. Like you talked about, Johnny, Jose came up in a couple of pivotal situations here, grounded into a double play earlier on in the game against Shane Bieber. And then in the 8th inning, had an opportunity when the Sox looked like they had a little bit of a rally going, popped out to first base there. And then, this situation here had Karinchak on the ropes. He was doing his whatever bullshit he was doing with whatever substance he's got in that glove right there. I mean, there's something going on there, and it's very blatant at this point. How this is not getting investigated by the league at this juncture is beyond me, because it's right there on camera for everybody to see. And then Jose gets himself in a good count, 2-0 count against a guy who he had just walked Moncada, and Jose goes after a pitch out of the strike zone, grounds out to kind of end the rally there. So just like you said, really frustrating day there from Jose Abreu. That's the guy you usually one up in those spots, and today just wasn't his day.
Yeah, and as with I think with the Karinchak thing, just funny that you say that, because Steve Stone finally explicitly said it on the broadcast. Way back, I went back and just looked for when this was. Tony, our guy Tony on Tap, wrote an article May 1st, exactly 1 month ago today. And that was back series on the south side. Karinchak, he closed down a game with some very nasty stuff, and he was, the reliever of the month for April, I believe. And it was always going to the glove there. So yeah, I wonder about that with him. But back to the game itself here. I hate silver linings. I'm not that guy, but at the same time, I can say that the rally, the late sort of kind of pushback, gives me more hope, and whether they get this game in and out or whatever, we'll get into that, the weather report in the next game preview. But it just gives me a little bit better feeling going forward than just fizzling out and dying and losing 6-3 in this game. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. You like to see this team continuing to fight all the way until 27 outs right there. Like you said, I mean, I'm not a silver linings guy much myself either. You play to win the game, as Herm Edwards would say. But the fact that, they didn't roll over and die out there is, I think, pretty symbolic of just what this team is made of, and I think what they have shown consistently throughout the course of this season. You and I know from watching this team over, the last, 10 years or so here, last year notwithstanding. Look, more oftentimes than not in recent memory, this Sox team would not have been competitive in that 9th inning right there. So to see them continue to fight all the way until that 27th out, I think that is a positive sign. And considering that they're doing this shorthanded, given a lot of the injuries that they have, and look, a lot of other teams have injuries, but the fact of the matter is this team is continuing to fight all the way until the very end, and you do like to see that.
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple more points from this game, and then we can move on and preview the series finale. Like I said, if it gets in, we'll get into that in a second. But bullpen keeping this thing in a spot to where the White Sox could possibly make a comeback. I think that was big and should not be overlooked because some of these guys are a little bit new, especially, I know we've seen Crochet, but still he's new himself to the league pretty much with the shortened season last year, getting called up in, early September or whatever that was. But Ryan Burr coming back. I know he had pitched a little bit earlier, this isn't his first outing of the year, but still like what I saw from him. Good to see, Garrett Crochet with 3 innings here. So I think that is also big, from an individual standpoint. Sure, the team, you play to win the game, like you just mentioned there. But I think it's big for those guys, especially Crochet coming off of a little bit of an injury too, getting that, feeling back on the mound, feeling good, feeling like he can get guys out, and did that effectively tonight. And Ryan Burr also, even after, dealing with the first out that he recorded, was that diving play off to the side of the mound on the kind of weird little pop-up there. So I think that was big for those. And then a point here that Sockside Mike brings up. Currently, I'm just as afraid of the Tribe as I normally am with Minnesota in the past. We got our dogfight, and it isn't who we thought it would be with. It's with the Cleveland Indians, not the Minnesota Twins here. And I just wanted to leave that up to you here, Steve, because you are the notorious AL Central hater. I think we all do, but you do definitely more vocally. So go ahead, elaborate.
Look, that's a great point there by Mike. As I've talked about previously, I'm a little older than a number of you guys, so I remember growing up in the mid to late 90s and the Cleveland Indians just ruining my summer for the better part of almost a decade there. So them and the Twins are very much 1 and 1A for me. It really just kind of depends on who's ultimately the more competitive team in a given season there. I hate both of them equally. I hope all the bad things in the world of baseball happen to the Cleveland Indians. They deserve it. Their fans don't ever deserve to know the joy of what it's like to win a championship. So I understand what Sockside Mike is saying there, and they're just a really annoying team, and it just, for whatever the reason, that ballpark there has kind of turned into a house of horrors for the Sox over the last decade. I mean, we've seen so many walk-off home runs against this team take place in that ballpark, and Jose Ramirez has been the culprit of a lot of those there. So for whatever the reason, there's something psychological with this team. Now they have, played them a little bit better this year, going 5-6 so far through 11 games after going 2-8 a year ago. But you definitely want to see them, and this is going to kind of obviously jump into talking about tomorrow's game here. You want to see them go out there and find a way to get this win tomorrow here, get the split, because you just lost a series on your home field to these guys a couple of weeks back. Obviously, that's a less than ideal situation, and it happened in a circumstance when the team ultimately lost Luis Robert. You don't want to turn around now and drop 3 out of 4 to these guys here, lose 2 straight series to them, and then kind of give them a little bit of a mental edge over you here as we progress here through the season.
Yeah, and I know we're still, the calendar just turned to June. We're here June 1st talking about this game here. But also just looking at standings wise too, and I know this is going to probably go, back and forth for, majority of the summer here through the dog days. But for this one, I think it's big because, it's 2.5, which is still, you're okay. I would think any White Sox fan would take that. If you're 2.5 games above and you're in first place, and you said that at the beginning of the season, I think we would be okay with that. And I am okay with where we are now. But you lose that, and then you're trimming that down to a half game. You're under 1 year if you lose this and drop, like you said, the 3 of 4 to Cleveland here. So I think it's big for that. Both, like you said, mentally, kind of giving them a mental edge, and then also just statistically here, when you look at the paper, I mean, the players they're in tune with all this shit. They go and they look at that, they see that, and they know. They look at the MLB standings, and they know where they stand and what each of these games mean. So I think it would be big for tomorrow, and I think that's a perfect point to transition into this. It will be a series finale here June 2nd on this Wednesday, 12:10 p.m. Central Time start is the plan. That is the scheduled start time, but there is a 65-ish% chance of rain at that hour out in Cleveland, and that chance increases later. So I don't know if we're going to get this game in, but Steve, let's preview it as if we were. Right now, starters that are listed are Eli Morgan and Lance Lynn. Have you seen anything to the contrary to that? Because this is a little bit of short rest then for Lance Lynn.
I have not. That seems to be the plan with Lance Lynn here, and that was one of the questions that I had as to why he came out of the game after 5 innings last Saturday in game one of the doubleheader. Or excuse me, in game two of the doubleheader there, and that's something that Tony had talked about after the game was the fact that they were planning to bring Lance back here on short rest. And look, this is kind of the guy that you want in this spot. Lance Lynn has showed that no fear mentality, that I'm just going to take the ball and be fastballs of all kinds of different varieties, and I'm going to shove it up your ass. I don't care who you are. I don't care what uniform you've got on. The Cleveland Indians don't scare him. He's going to go right at him. He doesn't give a shit. And that's the type of guy that you want in these spots here. You've lost 2 in a row. You don't want to lose a series, and you're going up against a division rival. I can't think of anybody else I'd rather have on the mound than Lance Lynn tomorrow.
Yeah, so this is the first time I've been on the mic in a little bit here, and I love the quote that came out in between the last time I was on and now. The Lance Lynn, I'm a bit of an asshole. That was his quote, his direct quote he's talking about. So I agree 100%, and I think that just backs up everything that you were just talking about there. And I agree. No one you would want better, because he finished May 5-0. I know pitcher wins and losses aren't the end all be all anymore. We all know that there's more to it. But you look at the numbers even behind that. It's been a damn solid month here for Lance Lynn. Ever since coming back from that little IL stint he endured in, what was that, late April? Ever since he's come back, he has been, one of your most consistent guys. And if we go back to our season preview show, what did I say? Lance Lynn, Team Cy Young. So there we go.
So,
love it.
Well, Johnny, you talk about the individual win loss record side of it here. What I think is important to look at there is more so the team aspect. He's gone out there every single time that he has taken the ball in the last month, and he has given this team an opportunity to win. So whether or not he got the individual win or not, I always look at it as he's gone out there. He has done his job. He has put this team in a position to win baseball games right there. And that's what you want. And that's what you look for out of a veteran guy like Lance Lynn that has been around and pitched in big moments like he has. Tomorrow's a big moment here. And again, this is a guy that I love having in this spot.
Yeah, I would honestly, if I had my choice, I wouldn't have anyone else. So I'm glad the rotation aligns, and that is what the plan was, to bring him back here. And I think he will be effective if they do get this game in. But I also won't be too upset if they don't get this game in, because I would assume that means they shove him just back to Thursday, and I'll be at the ballpark Thursday. So I love a Lance Lynn day. A little selfish reasons there, but I do hope they can get this in and just squash it and then get this split here. Maintain where they're at with this, and even add on to that lead there, and then also like you said, take away that mental edge, not say, oh well, we won 2 of these last couple series against the White Sox. No, it's we're going to be the staunch ones, and you go up against sure, you got one of our guys that's a little inconsistent here with Dylan Cease. You get one from him here, and you get the second game of a doubleheader, and the one that we already took the first game. But no, once you go up against our best stuff, you ain't getting past us. So that's kind of what I want to see instilled here. I've been slacking on these every time I've been on for the past 3-4 shows I've done. So we need to get picks to click. Let's do them on here, so we're not fashing them out in the text messages in the Sox on Tap group. Steve, go ahead. Who you got for Wednesday's game, assuming we get it in?
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Yasmani Grandal here. I'm assuming he's going to be in the lineup here tomorrow, day game after a night game. So I would anticipate he will be in that spot ahead of Zach Collins. Going to have a relatively young pitcher going on the mound there for the Cleveland Indians there. And maybe, just maybe, this is one of those spots where Yaz kind of jumps a count a little bit and tries to inflict a little damage. So I'd be watching for that maybe early on here, first, second at bat tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I would assume that's a safe bet with Zach Collins starting tonight. And like you'd mentioned, the night to day game on the getaway day for the White Sox there. I like Yaz. That's a good pick. And I'm going to go with Nick Madrigal, a guy that I would assume will be in the lineup tomorrow. I'm just impressed with the ninth inning at bat that he had. And he knew what his job was, and he knew where to place it, and he was able to do so effectively. So if he gets himself in a situation like that, I feel like he can come through in that, and maybe a guy's up a couple bases there, so he's the one driving in a run there, and kind of extending something like a rally like we had today, or just piling on if we're scoring early, scoring often. I think Nick Madrigal could be a catalyst there. So been a while since I picked Nicky Sticks. I'll go back to him him here. I like your pick of Viaz too as well. So, Steve, great to be back on with you tonight. Let's get final thoughts, and then I will get our housekeeping in, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Lance Lynn, just go out there and do what you do, baby. Get this game in. Let's find a way to get this win tomorrow and get that split, and then get back home and take care of business against D-Toilet.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Lance Lynn, like you said, Fear the Beard. That is the theme of the day tomorrow. Easy Top all morning, per usual. Get your Fear the Beard shirts at ontapsports.bigcartel.com. You got the nice outline of Lance Lynn with the 33 in the hat. Fear the Beard underneath it, white shirt, with the black print on it. So that's nice. We are going to have Dallas Keuchel ones. Hopefully get the whole line for our beard guys going out. But, Lance Lynn, I think it's deserving of the T-shirt most recently. So I will definitely be wearing mine tomorrow. I'll post a few more pictures and get those up there if anyone wants to go. I'll get the link out too from Sox on Tap, so we can, if you want to join in on the Fear the Beard movement, that's what I'm on. You get your stopper here of sorts, and Lance Lynn is that most recently. So I'm ready to flush this one down the toilet and just get back on track, split the series, and we'll go back and hopefully get a 4-game sweep of Detroit at home. So that is all we've got here for the Sox on Tap post-game show. Once again, Tuesday's game that we were recapping, White Sox fall 6-5 to the Cleveland Indians. Finale is scheduled for Wednesday. Rain is in the forecast, though, so do not be surprised if that is rained out. This show is presented by OnTapSportsNet.com. Make sure you're visiting OnTapSportsNet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. You can follow us on Twitter at SoxOnTap and at OnTapSportsNet. When you're doing White Sox shopping, Grandstand is the place to go. Go and visit them at GrandstandSox.com and follow them on social media at GrandstandSox. So, Steve, that's it. Blowing all my hot air for tonight. 3 words: White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.